versus the bills you got coming out will afford the $800 a month, a way that they do their calculations. Because unlike when you go and buy a car, they don't run what they call debt ratio, which means they'll look at your bills versus your income and tell you that only a percentage of your income can go to bills, because we figure that, don't figure, life is you got to eat, you got to, buy clothes, whatever. So when you buy a house, they'll look at your income, then they say 36% of your income should go to bills. And the other 66%, you got to live off of that, So when you, and I'm going to use whole numbers just so that it make it easier for calculations, so y'all can understand what I'm talking about fully. Well, when you, say for instance, if you go to a lender for a home loan, and you make $1,000 a month, they say only 36% of the income, of your income can go to bills. So that's why. Yeah, that's right. $360 would be all they said that you can go have going out. Okay, so that is just bills on your credit. That doesn't count things like car insurance or, health insurance or anything. They only look at bills that's on your credit, like credit cards, car payments, things like that, student loans. So, say for instance, they say 36% of your income can go to bills, including housing, okay? So, if you come and they say $360 is all you need going out, you already have $100 car payment. So they deduct that, so that leaves $260. Then out of the $260, you may have a student loan, that might be $60 a month, so they deduct that, and that leaves $200. And so they say, well, your monthly payment, the most that you can afford for a house is $200 a month. Are you following me? I'm using these easy numbers just so y'all can follow with me. So based on $200 a month, they say, well, the price that house that you can buy to keep you in $200 a month is $50,000 house. So that's how they come up with price range as to what you need to look at. And you may have thought that you could afford $400 a month, but the way they do their calculations, because they want to be sure that you ain't cash strapped, that you spending every dime you got to pay bills, so they figure that, if you like that, chances is they gonna get their money, So they just not gonna lend you any more than they feel comfortable with, which is a good thing. Actually, if we was to follow this mortgage budget in everyday life, we wouldn't be as stressed as we are month to month, just sliding from one month to that. Look, I've done it. It wasn't months ago that I done it, we conditioned sometimes to spend every dime that we got coming in. But this is what Project Get That Deed is about. We're going to learn some new financial habits that make things easier. But this on life, and also get you prepared for home ownership. So that is how the mortgage company is going to set a budget for you. Okay. Now the next thing is when you go to the lender, they want to make sure that you have some good job time. Okay. They look for at least 2 years of job time. Some people may have moved from one job to the next in less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. That's fine, as long as you just show that you had a good reason to move from one job to the next. Did you move because you wanted? If you move from this job to that job, you make more money. Or you move from this job to that job, you get more benefits. Or if you for some reason you was going to school and you finally finished school and you moved from one job to another job into another field, but because of the education that you went for, all those things are explainable. I tell people, what's not explainable if you just move from one job to the next job just because you wasn't feeling it. They ain't going to be feeling you. You got to have a reason for leaving one place to another. So they looking for stability. One thing you got to realize is that you are going to somebody asking them to lend you $100,000 and they don't know you. So you got to prove, they got that you are worthy of that money, and the only thing they can do is check and balance, and try to determine what kind of good habits you have. And I tell people, no, your credit don't have to be perfect. You could have had some past mistakes and still get a mortgage. But it has to be past mistakes. You can't be still 30, 60, 90 days late on anything. They just, especially if it was on $1,000 loan, there again, they can't give you no $100,000. You can't pay $1,000 on time. So I tell people it's okay. It's okay. When that happens, we ain't here to judge nobody. We all had a season of life we didn't handle business the way we should, or we didn't handle business because we couldn't. We might have got sick. We might have lost a job. We might have had some kind of, financial situation that out of our control. That happens too. And a lot of us just don't do what we're supposed to do. We take out bill money and spend it on other things. And that's just not us. I ain't talking about just us. That's everybody. But this is what we're here to have a mind shift on how we handle our finances. Because once you get a mind shift about how you handle your finances, when your little ones come up and they get ready to get their credit, you can say, look, and I had to spend all this time to straighten my credit up. I'm going to make sure you don't make the same mistakes I did. And then you teach it to them, and then when the next ones come up, they'll teach it to them. So what we doing here is try to get a whole generational mind shift of handling business properly so that we can pass it on to our kids and on and on. So, let's see. I'm getting ready to get into this sheet to go over a few things that will help you out. And there again, Latoya Barrett with OBM Financial uses the one that's up here doing the financial piece. But she called me, and like I said, she got in an accident on the way here. Her and her daughter did not hurt, thank goodness. So, I just want to highlight a little bit about how they, Latoya, when you go to her to get pre-approved for a mortgage, what she looks for, the job time's important, the credit's important. If you have some explanations about why you was late, in the past, they're reasonable. They're reasonable because they know life happens. So just know that you have some stuff in your credit in the past, it's okay. Even if you got some credit issues now, it's okay. She's going to still pull your credit, tell you exactly what you need to do. Get yourself together. You may have some judgments or some collections, depending on how old some of those collections or judgments are. You may not have to pay them at all. But then some of them you may have to pay, but she'll teach you how to make a settlement. Just because you owe $1,000 don't mean that you have to pay $1,000. There's ways to, because they figure they ain't getting no money from you no way. They might as well negotiate and get 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar, better than nothing. So that's how we're going to teach you how to negotiate the settlement. Yeah, but we like I said, we had times that we didn't have a business, but I tell people, find out your action plan, take the smallest one, pay that off, whatever it is. And then move up to the next one, pay it off, when you start seeing some results. So, don't start with the biggest one, but start with the smallest one, because as you knock one down, you start feeling good about yourself. It starts, you see yourself moving towards the process. So we'll teach you all of that. How to go about doing that to get yourself straightened out. Now, some people's stuff is so deep that you may need a credit repair company. We have a couple of credit repair companies that is very reputable, that's here in town, that if they take your money, don't do what you need to do, open that door. Y'all need to get somebody stuff right. Nobody in California or Florida, nobody's going to take your money when you can't go and make sure that there's so many out there that's scaring people, taking people's money and fixing no credit, nothing. So we make sure we got somebody that we can actually go knock on their door. That's kind of getting people doing what they're supposed to do. So that's a beautiful thing. So if you need somebody, and then also we partner, they're one of our vendor partners, which we'll go over that a little more later, but which means if you use them, they give you a discount. I don't get no kickbacks from it, nothing. I just went out and made sure that I identified somebody that was reputable, wasn't going to take everybody's money and do what they said they're going to do. And the way I tested them is what I hired them to do my stuff. I hired them to do, like you that little tidbit now. If you decide to connect with us after the seminar, you will get more details on the finance end from the actual lender. That is their expertise. They'll go over additional things that will help you and things they look for on credit, job time, your tax returns. They go into all of that. So I'll make sure that we get you connected with somebody that can give you the full details, but I just want to highlight the most important, which is the credit and income. And you must be able to document income, especially if you're self-employed. You must have at least 2 years tax return. And even when if you're not self-employed, they do ask for 2 years worth of tax return. And your W-2s and stuff. So they got a long little list that they go over. If you've been a divorce, you can divorce decrees. They want to make sure if you're having a child support or alimony you're supposed to pay, that you're paying that on time. And, so they really, like I said, they don't know you from Adam. They got to make sure that you are worthy of getting their money and not tell you to ask for paperwork after paperwork. And then when you think they're done, they ask you for 20 more pieces of paperwork. I tell people you just got to be prayed up and patient when you're going through that process. Because when they start asking you for all this stuff, you're like, why are they asking me for all this? It ain't making no sense. But it don't matter. They still, if they may sing one little thing, just keep doing it. I tell people, just keep doing it, because sooner or later they will say, okay, we good. Here's the money. So it's a process, but we'll keep you encouraged through the process. Some of them we have to give oxygen to and rub them down and everything. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Because they pick it on me, no, honey, they do this to everybody, So just know you'll be encouraged through the whole process. So now, say for instance, if you went to the lender, they said, okay, Brenda, good. They good to go. We got them pre-approved for $100,000. It's time for them to start going looking for houses. So now I'm getting ready to go with y'all what the process of when you find a house that you like, some of the fees and stuff associated that you have to come up with. Because I like everybody to be completely informed when you buy a house. There are monies that you have to come up with. There's different sources you can get the money from, but you still got to come up with it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is some types of loans that you can get. First one is the USDA loan. Anybody ever heard of USDA? Okay. USDA, actually, USDA and VA are both government loans, but USDA is in the rural areas. All of Brunswick County, all of Pender County is considered rural areas, so USDA finances 100% finance, which means if you qualify for $100,000, USDA, and you qualify for USDA loan, you can borrow the whole $100,000 as long as the house is in USDA area. Okay. Now there are some parts of New Hanover County that are USDA. There's some areas off Gordon Road, some over there in Monkey Junction. Let's see, Castlehane. So there's pockets of areas that are USDA approved in New Hanover, but it's just little spots. But all of Brunswick, all of Pender is, so you ain't got to pick and choose. You know if you're in that county, you're good. All of Dublin, just about all of the towns when you go past Pender or Brunswick, Columbus, all that is, So whenever it's time for you to actually start looking for houses, and if you've been approved for USDA loans, we will go over in detail what areas that you can stick in and at that time. Now, VA loans. VA loans are for veterans. Anybody familiar with VA loans? Hit a VA loan. So VA loans are usually for veterans who have served in the military. That is, again, 100% financing. You don't have to come up with any down payment for those type loans. Now, also, we recently found out that VA loans can be given to people who did not serve in the military. Like if you went and participated in maybe a natural disaster like a hurricane or whatever, you volunteered or was part of FEMA or something like that, they have opened their doors to you using a VA loan because you was participating in that somehow. Was there other areas of Keisha that was cool to know, because and VA loans is not in a particular area. You can use a VA loan anywhere, so you don't have to stick in a certain location to use a VA loan. Yes.
What if your dad was in the military but you weren't?
That's your dad benefits. I'm glad you asked that, because you know that was a question that was asked once before, and people, you know, because when we have a veteran, a military, kids, wife, we have these privileges, right? Now I don't know. Somebody said once that the spouse could use. Is that right, Tisha? But I don't think it's did to the kids.
I never heard the children, but I've heard the spouse has been
I have
abusive.
heard the spouse, and I recently found that out.
The spouse can, the children can.
Okay, see, look, you know a little something. So, but that was a legitimate question, because it's been asked before. Okay, so, all right, so that's, yeah, that's worth trying, right? Oh, wow, that's worth trying, I'm for real. Yeah, so that's awesome, but just, Dad can buy the house and give it to you, you know, so that's a way to get it, you know, and you can keep paying the payment to VA, so that's another way. Now, the next program is the City of Wilmington HOP program. We ever hear the HOP program? All right, good. What that is that is specific to the city limits of Wilmington, and that's not just the inner city. As long as it's in the city limits of Wilmington, which you know that goes way out now, through Muggy Junction and some off Market Street. I mean, city limits go everywhere now. And so as long as you're in the city limits of Wilmington, you can use, and if you qualify, because it's based off family size and also income, if you qualify, then you can do the HOP program. Now, with the HOP program, you only have to put $500 in the deal some kind of way. So, you know, that could be you use the $500 for an inspection or something. There's some kind of way you got to use at least $500 of your money. And other than that, they would give you 100% of the money. But the next good thing about the HOP program is that part of the money is interest free. Say, for instance, if you qualify for $100,000 for the HOP program, 40% of that money is interest free. So you only pay interest on 60%. 40% is at 0%. That means that you usually can afford more of a house because the payment is so much lower. And of that 40%, if you stay in a house for a certain period of time, that money is forgiven. That's good. That's good. But it takes a while. But if you stay in it, you know, that 40% can be forgiven because you're only going to be making the payment on pretty much that 60% money. So that's awesome as well. So that's a good program. There again, once we find out, you get approved, we'll find out your locations, where you want to be, what's important to you. I tell people locations usually number one. And then after location, there may be you want to be close to a school or a job or whatever. So location is number one. Also, after location is the size of the house. You need 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, whatever. So, and then of course after that, after the size of the house, after the size of the house, the next thing that we look for is your extras. I tell people that's when we look for your extras. So people may want the fireplace, the granite, you know, the granite countertops, or the jacuzzi, or the grand staircase, and they said we can get this to $100,000. I tell everybody, well, you know, this is where the bill is about $20-something. I said, Jack, you can get on that. This is your first house. You can't get it on that first house, but you maybe can get it on that second house. So that's the first thing that we tell people, that we teach you that we will teach you how to get your first one. But don't mean that's the last one you gotta have. When you get ready to move from the first one, when you get ready to move from the smaller one up to the bigger one, you don't necessarily have to sell it either. Where you are renting a house, then you can become a landlord. Find somebody to put in this house, let them pay that $800 a month. You move to your second house, and while you making the payment on this may not stay in it, and even if you decide to stay in it, you want to make sure you can sleep good at night. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people will rent in a location, but that they wouldn't buy it. That's two different things. It's a season for everything. But when you get ready to buy, we're going to make sure you buy smart. Okay? So that you have options to you when you get ready to move from that one to the next one. And then most people move to the second house, which is bigger than the first. And then when the kids get gone and they're moving something smaller than the first one. Because they don't want the yard, they don't want the upkeep. And so some people buy 3 houses in their lifetime, which is fine. It's fine. But we'll teach you all of that. It's about empowering us to do everything smart. That's what Project Get That Deed is about. So, say for instance, we go out to find the perfect house, and you say, Brenda, I want to negotiate. But let me back up a little bit, because I want to be sure we understand when you get ready to go out looking for houses, you can call this. Everybody has a sale sign in the yard. Maybe Caldwell Banker, maybe Remax, maybe, Coastal Properties. Always going to be a realtor sign in the yard. Feel free to call that realtor to ask them how much is the house, that you're in front of. You may drive in a neighborhood, call the number. How much is it? How many bedrooms? That realtor has been hired to answer your questions for that seller. So they will tell you. And just be sure that once they give you the information, they may say it's $100,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, got a whirlpool in the back, whatever, everything you was looking for. And you get excited because it's your price point, it's location, it's everything you think that you want. And then you're so excited, you say, oh man, that's great. I just come from the back, I'm approved for $100,000, And then you come to me. Then he said, Brenda, I want to see it. I'm going to show it to you. He said, Brenda, I want to make an offer on this. And then you start telling your house, you made that initial call, and then you start telling that realtor on the other end all your business. All your business. You got this in the bank, or maybe I'm paying $20,000. And then I want to go, see, because I like to negotiate. I tell people, don't take my power. I can't negotiate and say, this is selling you $100,000, but this house ain't working up, but we can give you a dime over 8. That's what you got to give me permission to say that. But if you already told them that you got $100,000 and $30,000 worth of cash, they are obligated to tell that seller everything that you told them, but they weren't working for you. Remember, their sign was in a seller's yard. They are working for the seller. They are not working for you. So I tell people, know that you can call the number on the sign. They are hired to give you all the information. But you don't say nothing about, don't say jack about yours. Don't say jack about yours. And if they ask you, because the real estate commission tell us that we're not supposed to ask anybody their personal information. And when they start volunteering, we're supposed to change the meeting. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing else, because we must let you know we're working for the seller. Anything that you tell us that we are obligated to tell our sellers. But most of them just let you keep running. They're not going to set you up at all. So now I'm educating you to tell you, don't even start. And if they ask you, have you been to the bank? Have you been pre-approved? You only say one thing, and then get them off the phone quick. I'll have my rules to call you and answer those questions. Because they know then you've been educated. They know then you've been educated not to say nothing about your personality. And I promise you, they won't even say goodbye when they hang up the phone. Because they know that once I learned that they started asking you your personal business, they crossed the line. So, so that's why I'm educating y'all. Feel free to call as much as you can. I know I beat that part to death every time I say it, but I'm telling you, I've seen so many people out of innocence tell the other side stuff that hurt them in negotiations. But I want to make sure anybody in my seminar never do that. Okay? All right. So, we find a perfect house. I do negotiate successfully. We get the price you want. We got control of the property. I'll come back to the sheet here in a minute. Where we doing the negotiations, I'm going to skip down to where it says closing costs. Because I want to talk about negotiations a little bit. One more time. What we got? Okay. the price of the car. Then they got the tags, the warranty, and it comes to a total. Well, I tell people, closing costs is your okay? You approve for $100,000 and you approve for one of these 100% financing, you're gonna get $100,000 from the bank, but you still got to come up with this from somewhere. That's where I want to be able to hopefully negotiate that for you with the seller. Mr. Seller, you want $100,000 for your house. If the bank said that the loan you're going to get, that you're going to need about 3 to 6% closing costs. Let's use 3%, Mr. Zach, as a number. They say 3% closing costs. Closing costs is like attorney fees, 1 year insurance is required up front when you buy a house, because they want to make sure that the house catch on fire the day after you move into it, that the insurance is on the property. So they make sure when you buy a house, 1 year insurance is paid up front. Also, the attorney in North Carolina, you must use an attorney to close a purchase, or either a notary, but most of the attorneys, so they have to do a title search. What a title search is, they'll look at the current owner and go back so many years to make sure that when that owner got the deed, that everything was done properly and and they go back so many years to